In this video, we're going to be replacing the power converter on this 1994 Dodge Roadtrek 190 Versatile. Currently, the house battery, is not getting proper voltage when we're plugged into shore power or when we have the generator on. So, going to go ahead and replace the original MagneTek converter with a Boondocker 1245 PC. So that's actually going to replace the entire power center, so it's going to be all the fuses and everything. Main reason we're going to replace it is because of the charging issues that we have. The other reason is the newer converters actually allow multi-stage charging, so it's a lot better for your battery when you're plugged into shore power for extended periods of time.
Okay, so this is part of the reason why I'm actually replacing the converter. You can see right now, I get the battery connected. I got the house battery connected to a multimeter, and I'm getting 11.96 volts. So, show you. If I go ahead and turn the converter on to charge the battery via the circuit breaker, here it pop on. There is definitely not a considerable voltage increase, and I've tested this out for quite a while, and it's not giving me the voltage out of the converter that it's supposed to have. Remove the two driver's side bench seats. Now it's time. I got to remove the corner bracket right there, and I got to remove this plate. With these brackets, I actually labeled them all just to make sure that the screws bow back in the same spot. So, quick thing that helps when you're putting them back in. Then you got the 4 bolts for this panel, 2 are on this side, and then you got the 1, 2 right there. Okay, now the panel just comes right up. Got the top look at the old converter right there. One thing you may notice on this that's a little different than the Boondocker that we're putting in, the Boondocker does not have that automatic line transfer switch. So with this, that's actually taking your shore power input and your generator, and that's actually going to switch if you happen to be running on shore power and turn on the generator, or have the generator running and turn on shore power. So that's a pretty essential thing, just to make sure that you don't overload the system in case the shore power and generator are there. With this, my troubleshooting, I don't like to replace too much too soon, so I'm going to reuse the old automatic line transfer switch. I may look into replacing that. I've found a few different ones online. That's going to be a 30 amp since we're dealing with a 30 amp setup. So before you start digging into the wires, you want to make sure that you have no power going to the converter. So you want to make sure that the shore power is unplugged from outside. You want to make sure that the generator is off, and you want to come up in the 94 190 Versatile. The house battery is up here in the seat right behind the drivers. You want to come up here. I've already pulled the screws out the panel just for speed, and you want to disconnect the battery. So I'm going to disconnect. I've already loosened these up again just to speed things up. It says just to disconnect the positive, but I'm just going to remove the whole battery just to get it out of the way. So now that that's out, you know that you don't have any power going to the back to the converter. Very important thing before you start pulling the converter out, you want to make sure that you label all the wires going and what amp fuse they are, so make sure that you're replacing them properly. Right here, I've actually written on the DC side as well. I got these wire tags. I think I bought these off Amazon. I plan on putting those on too. I didn't want to take any chances with those tags, putting them on in case when I ripped it through the conduit, any of those came off. So that's the DC side of the converter. Then you got your AC right here. To get access to this AC panel right here, You need a 5/16 socket. Remove those 2 screws. Of course, this thing doesn't want to come out very easily. There it is. Okay, now you've got your AC side. You got your two bus bars right there. You got your ground, and then you've got your negative right there. And then you've got your, in this setup, I've got 6 fuses. I've got the 4 15 amps, a 20 amp, and then I've got a 30 amp. And all these are currently labeled. You're gonna have to make sure that you get those labeled when you put the new one in. So I've gone through and labeled all of the AC and DC side. Like I said, the DC, I used a fine tip Sharpie and I actually wrote what it was plus the amperage, and I put the tag on there. On the AC side, I was going to try to find a fine tip white paint marker, but couldn't find one, so I'm just going with the tags. But if you can find a white paint marker, might help you out. So got everything labeled. At this point, we're set to pull the wires out and still know what they're for on the way back in. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the panel off right here, the front cover. You got the 4 screws right there that you got to pull off to get this thing out. And that whole thing comes out of the way. Might have to pull a little bit out of these. Forward bottom one likes to stick. So there you go. There you got that's the old 1994 converter in there. You'll see how it's nice to update this thing to new technology. Okay, so at this point we've gone through and removed the 4 mounting screws on the front. We're gonna go ahead and pull it out, and we're actually gonna go ahead and start disconnecting the wires from the automatic transfer switch. I'm going to start removing the lines from the automatic transfer switch. Real good idea for this is to take one or multiple pictures of that to make sure that you know where the wires are going, and actually label the wires as to how they go, because we're going to actually have to pull this off since there's a separate line coming in for the generator feed, so we'll probably have to move this thing over a little bit. We've got the wires all disconnected, we've got them labeled. Just pulling these out. You got the generator side out right there, and then you got the shore power on the other side. Just make sure you label where the grounds go and all the hots. Put them back together easily. So you got 2 bolts putting that automatic transfer switch on. There's one, and then the other one you need to remove the DC side panel to get at those. Okay, so at this point we got the wires labeled. Just going ahead and removed all those. All the DC side wires are going to remove the battery charging feed right now. That's the positive side on the battery feed. And you got the ground right there. Okay, so we got the DC side all disconnected here. I left the circuit breakers in it for now. We're actually going to reuse those circuit breakers, so just make sure you have them all labeled what amperage they are. Pulling off the AC side right now. These breakers, all you do is just push them down and pop them out. And that's how they come out. And then you got the flathead screws on there, and get those out. And then again, just make sure you have them all labeled so you know where they go on that wire. That's your power switch. That's actually going through your 30 amp breaker there. That's actually going to backfeed the entire panel, so you'll actually get everything through that 30 amp. Wires removed from the breakers, and then you see up here on top you've got the grounds, and then the white you got the neutral. Those don't matter what order you put them back in, so I'm not labeling those. I'm just making sure that the hot wires I've got all labeled on there, so putting them back on the right side, and I put the amperage on there to make sure that you're putting the right breaker on. All right, so we got the grounds off. Basically quick, just unscrew those and pop them out, and then we got the neutrals off. And good thing to remember with the neutrals, that those are current carriers, so if you do have any power, which again, make very certain that you got the shore power off and any other AC inputs off. Basically only shore power and generator, but make sure that if you're dealing with those, that you are careful that they do carry current. So pulled the automatic transfer switch again. You got the one screw there, you got the other one right there, and then the whole automatic transfer switch comes off. So now all we have to do is pull the two lines, the two AC lines here, and then we'll come down and get the square nuts off and pull off the DC side. Yeah, so those AC ones, you just kind of got to straighten them out, and you can yank those out on the back side. Got that ground out on the DC side. We're gonna go ahead and start yanking those DC wires through there. Looks like the thus far, knock on wood, all those tags have lasted getting through the conduit.
Oh yeah, let me see. I'll do them one at a time so I forget about those tags.
I mean, we got those labeled anyway, but
Yeah. There's your spare for something.
yeah. So now that we got the DC side out, go ahead and remove it. So there's the old one, pretty solid, a little more solid than the new Boondocker, but I'm gonna put that in there and make sure that we're all good on the fit. I've heard a few people say that there's some issues with the carpet on the bottom side, but I'm gonna put it in there before we start wiring it up. Make sure that it's all good. Boondocker 1245 PC in there. I only have one screw in there right now. Looks like the other ones I'm actually have to drill into there. But yeah, it actually does go in there. And then as far as the cover goes, looks like the cover's going on there. Might have a little bit of an issue because you kind of have to bend the cover down to get it in there. But as of right now, it looks like the thing's fitting in there. Pretty dang exact fit right there. So okay, so I got two screws in here. All the wiring in the back is disconnected. I just wanted to install the thing right now just to get the test fit in there, just to make sure that we don't get all the wiring going and then it's not gonna fit. So this thing actually, with these tabs, it has to fold down. I don't think that's honestly gonna happen because we need like 2 inches on the bottom, so I don't think the cover's actually gonna go on properly. But right now you can get the cover on in there and get it all set. So I got the two mount screws installed, and then I got I screwed in the cover plate, so just to do the test fit. So I got that on, and then I want to put, there you go. So just want to go ahead and put the whole thing together as far as the hardware, just to make sure the thing fits. And yeah, the 1245 Boondocker 1245 PC looks like it's fitting pretty awesome in this 1994 Dodge Roadtrek 190 Versatile. Okay, so since I verified that the gap right here is pretty dang good, that thing fits great. I just had the two top screws in there, just tap the holes on those. Since I verified that the thing's a pretty good fit, I actually tapped the two bottom screws just so I've got the holes for later. So now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the screws and actually pull this thing out and start wiring out. And these sleeves on the back, I'm actually going to pull those off and reuse them. If you get them on the front side, these things are, at least on this one, they're pretty torqued down. So what I'm actually doing is I just pulled this off and then got a pair of needle nose and get in there. And these actually just twist. If you do it from the back side, they come off pretty easily. So I'm going to do that with the other ones as well. Okay, getting ready to put it back together. Kind of a work stoppage thing. Had to go over to Lowe's and pick some stuff up. The original Westinghouse ones that had on the original MagneTek, those will go in, but they pop right out. So I didn't want to take a chance with that on safety. So went over to Lowe's, grabbed some Siemens breakers. Got the 215s to replace. They're the 15s, and then they didn't have the breaker with the 20 and the 30, so I had to get two different 20 and 30s, and those are the QTs for the other ones, and then these are the 15 and the 20 and the 30 are the QPs. And then the back side of the new Boondockers actually got the list of circuit breakers that work with it. So getting ready to start wiring up the AC side. I just dropped the new Siemens circuit breakers in there just to test fit. We'll pull them out to wire them up. So you got two options for running the AC wire. You got these clamps right here. They've got got those rubber grommets on the back that you just pop out. But those things, they clamp the wires, but those look to me like they're going to be a one-time use. You're going to probably have to break them to get them out. So we're going to use the sleeves over here. Some people call them Romex clamps. So we're going to use those because, one, they're going to hold the wire a little bit better. But two, you're also going to be able to pull them out if you want to do anything with the AC wire in the future. Go ahead and pop those out and just use an X-Acto knife to get those out. Works pretty dang well. So we're going to do we're going to go with the top one and the bottom one just to reduce the clutter in the AC side. So I got the sleeves in here. Now looking at where to mount the automatic transfer switch. We're originally looking at doing it right here on this side, but I have to do some rewiring with the power, the 30 amp power right there. So instead of doing that, what we're looking at is mounting this on just right here on the back side of the converter. We're just gonna take, there's that. We're gonna take a couple of L brackets and just mount it right on the back side. Okay, so you can see we got the automatic transfer switch mounted onto the new converter. Just took the L bracket, took two self-driving screws. We got just number 10, 5/8 inch. They got in there, and then you can see on the back side, you want to be careful with the converter, but we cleared the converter. You want to make sure that you're not accidentally drilling into the converter, but we cleared that by probably at least an inch, maybe even an inch and a quarter. So now we got it mounted on here. The cool thing with that, with the power wires go right in, and you can go into the junction block and the circuit breaker, and we're not having to worry about splicing wires and creating another junction in there. Okay, so we're gonna start wiring it up. The tag didn't go through, but this is the 30 amp power. I got the tag on the back side, so I know that's the 30 amp. So we're just gonna wire that up into the circuit breaker and tighten it down with the square bit right here. So we're gonna take the positive side, go to the 30 amp breaker, and then we're going to take the neutral side and go to the bus bar. Just make sure that those are good and clamped down. Make sure you got good torque on them. So we're going to start out and take that AC ground right there. We're going to bring it in to that AC, hook it up to the bus bar right there. Ground in there. We actually pulled the nut off just to make sure that ground went all the way through, and you can actually see it on the back side, so you know that it's got a full ground on there. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and start wiring up the rest of the AC. We're going to separate them with the air conditioner. That's on a separate, so we're going to actually put that in the on the bottom side, and we're going to put the rest on that top grommet that we put in there. Okay, so we got all the AC wired up. We got the fuses all wired in the same way that they were before. You got the master power, you got the air conditioner, you got the AC to the converter, you got the side door, you got the side door receptacle, you got the microwave receptacle, and then you got the fridge AC. We mounted them all on the ground bar, and then you got the neutral bar, and then came up the automatic transfer switch. Again, we labeled all the wires and then just connected them up. We got the generator input and then the shore power input right there. We got the automatic transfer switch all wired up. We're gonna go ahead and start into the DC side wiring. We got the ground side, or as it's labeled on the new converter, it's as the 12 volt negative, and we got the 12 volt positive that's going to the battery. And yeah, we're gonna get that wired up. We're using wire nuts for these. Best connection I was thinking of. Okay, so I use wire nuts. We got all the DC wired up. Tried to match the gauge of the existing wiring with what was coming off of the converter. We have 4 wires that we got capped off, and we just cut those and capped them to make sure that there wasn't any chance of any stray electricity getting out. So now we're gonna go in, and we've got listed what wires with what amp fuse connected where on here, and then on the front side it's got what the colors of the wires are. So we're gonna put the proper fuse in there. So you can see that. Okay, so again, we got the DC wiring hooked up. We got the AC wiring hooked up. So we are all connected. We got the AC circuit breakers off, And per the test instructions on the Boondocker, we've got all the DC fuses out. So now we're going to go about the testing. So it doesn't tell you in the instructions, but I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to go up here and connect the house battery, and then we're going to connect the shore power, and we're going to start checking the output of the converter. So I connected the house battery, and no AC, but I do have the LED light on here showing that we got some DC coming in. Okay, so we've got the house battery connected, just connected shore power. We don't have anything going through. Just making sure we got shore power going. Can you test that again?
Yeah.
So went to the neutral side, and then to
120.
the 30 amp, and we got 120 on there, so we know it works. So now all we have to do is throw that 30 amp breaker, and we're gonna start getting some power going through this.
Power there with this open, see?
Yeah.
But it's worse, it's back feeding.
Right. Go for
So
it.
now watch.
Okay.
So now we should have power up here on the bus bar with that thing closed. I bet we do, and we do.
Okay, so we got power up on the bus bar with that closed. So
what was this 20 ampere again?
that's the AC.
I'll just close these and
Okay.
and just
So
check for power.
that's the air conditioning outlet. You shouldn't get anything in there.
Yep, now we got power there, so
Okay.
that's good.
This is the 15 amp is for the battery charger. So you look, so we just turned that 15 amp on, and you look down here, you got the LED on the
Oh
converter.
yeah, that's cool.
So
Never thought of that, but
there you go.
hold on. I was hoping that we'll have to do some checks.
Yep.
But I was just checking to make sure everything's powered up.
Okay.
Well, let's get that on there.
Okay. Check the
that's
side
good.
door.
Checking all those are good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
So that's checking all the AC side is good right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all good on the AC side.
Okay, so we got
Now,
the AC's all good.
so turn the converter on.
Okay, we got the leads of our multimeter into the positive and negative of the battery. Right now we're getting 0 on there, as we should be, because we've got our breaker off. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the breaker on for the converter, and we should be getting wrong breaker. Okay, you see the converter came on.
13.6 volts. That's good.
13.6 volts right there.
The battery.
Yep, charging. So
that's good.
looks like we're good on the converter right now.
So-
Okay, so we checked the battery voltage coming off of the converter. One of the last tests that it tells you to do is checking the battery voltage coming straight off the battery. So you see right now on our multimeter, we have 12.54. I have the converter breaker off. I've got the 15 amp breaker off. I'm gonna go ahead, I've got shore power plugged in right now. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the 15 amp on. And you see, there you go, we got good volts. We just went from 12.52 to 13.7. So yeah, it's putting power out at the battery as well, so we are good. That thing, the new converter is in there and it's working properly. Okay, to finish the process up, just went in, put the cover plate on. Before I actually mounted the last screws, I went in with a shop vac and cleaned up all the old wire clippings and everything else, cleaned up back behind there, taped up the wires, made sure everything looked clean and everything. Don't want to leave all sorts of stuff all over the place. So got the cover on, the breaker's in, we functional tested everything, and looks like from what we're seeing right now, everything's good. So got the automatic line transfer switch on there. I actually turned the cover plate around because it didn't, where we mounted it didn't actually clear that, so just turn it around. May go in there and hack off part of it later, but for now it's working. So get that plate there, the cover put back on, and everything buttoned up, and we are all set. Update after the install. Didn't notice this previously, but the LP leak detector is not getting any current. There's no power going to it. So went over and checked the 2 amp circuit breaker over here, and there is no power going through there. Check the backside gray, which is where we plugged it in. there you go. You got the LP leak detector. Check that to ground. There's 12 volts on it, and then I realized that we didn't connect the grounding point on the LP leak detector, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and reconnect that. So went in there, and the grounding point previously was with the DC ground on everything, so I just ran the DC ground for the LP detector right on there. And as you can see, the safety alert LP gas and CO detector is working. The CO blinking is just means that it's testing. It does that for about 10 minutes. Well, hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Hopefully it helps you out if you decide to upgrade the power center on your rig. I know I learned a lot about the power center in this and the entire power system. I'm very excited to have the new converter in. It seems like the electrical system is working a ton better than it was, and I'm excited for the multi-stage charging on this new converter. So take care, and hope your install goes well.